Welcome back to the channel, friends. Today we're going to talk about a new review for the Hobbywing Axe. The electronics world of RC has become like the video game industry. Video game will come out, manufacturer, in this case the developer would feel like they would sell you on a perfect product before the system or the game was released. Whenever you get the game, you pop it in and you find out it's nothing like they promised. Well, that's exactly what the Hobbywing Axe falls into. Game developers will take and come out with updates. The updates will make the game incredibly good. Exactly what Hobbywing has done with the Axe. Okay. The Hobbywing Axe, while it was in my possession, was never junk. Get that out of the way right now. The system always functioned very well, did what I needed it to do for the most part, and performed. Okay. Then, we come out with the newest firmware, and it's the reason I have to do this video. Things have changed. The Hobbywing Axe has gotten better. With that comes a new review. The review this time will be slightly different than other reviews. We don't need to cover the basics. They're in the other videos. If you're unfamiliar with things I'm going to talk about, please go revisit the other videos and you can find out exactly what it is. Some of them were quite long, so that's why I'm not dipping into that now. I will put links in the description for the other video reviews and my thoughts. So, this firmware version that's currently available to everybody is firmware version 0.2.01. The previous firmware version that I did my initial review was firmware version 0.1.12. Keep in mind, every single firmware version starts with 01-00, then the point I had already mentioned. So, with firmware version 01-00.2.01, things have really gotten good, and we're going to hit them right away. First off, many people, including myself, had mentioned that it had a delay or a hesitation on throttle input, especially when going from 0 to high throttle. It was a noticeable hesitation or delay. That has since been really decreased, okay? It is barely noticeable. I still notice a slight hesitation. A very slight. I mean, it's almost not there. And I do not take anything away from the system whatsoever. It is perfectly fine the way it is right now. If they even get it better in the future, props to them. If not, I'm completely good with how it is. Next, we move on to smoothness. The system itself had gotten a tiny, minuscule amount smoother than what it originally was. They also added some options in programming. Okay, the Axe is extremely easy to program via Bluetooth from a mobile device or what have you that is Bluetooth capable. In them options, they added a mode for acting like a brush system, a mode for partial FOC, field-oriented control, where it tries to match your throttle input to the RPMs and the torque of the system itself. It's an in-between where it's not 100%, it gives you some feedback, okay? Then their third option that they added is full feedback, or full matching, where it's trying to 100% match your throttle input to what the vehicle does. I do not like that, especially in a leaf sprung truck. Some people may like it, especially people doing videos. That is extremely good for those super scale guys. That's killer because they can make outstanding stuff. For me, I like the middle of the road, to where it's giving me some feedback, but still giving me a nice smooth transition. I'm happy there, so I picked the middle grade, so I do. And I honestly forget the name of it. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. So sorry about that. Something to note, and this is kind of off where I should be at, when doing the update, if you have not updated your ESC or you've got a new system that is not firmware 0.2.01, whenever you do that update, do not walk away from your phone whatsoever. That update takes a little bit of time to do. It was maybe 5 minutes or something like that for mine. I forget exactly. It's been a while now. But do not walk away. As soon as that update, and I mean literally as soon as it is complete, says it's done, you're good to go, you need to get the motor paired ASAP. Mine, I left mine sit for a few seconds after it was finished. I was in the middle of doing something with my kids. I was helping them with something. And as soon as it was done, I seen it. I could see the phone from where I was at. I left it sit for a couple seconds. By the time I got to it, before I even got to the truck, I could smell the motor hotter than a firecracker. Okay, it was extremely hot. I could smell it. I hurried up, unplugged the battery, shut the system down. The ESC was cool. Just the motor was hotter than a firecracker. I hurried up, shut it down, unplugged it. I left it cool off. And then I paired the motor and ESC together. The system worked fine. The motor had some noise to it afterwards. That noise lasted roughly about an hour of runtime, and then the noise was gone. Was it from the heat? I'm going to say probably something from the heat. It's really hard to say. But it works, seems to work okay now, and the noise is gone. Just wanted to get that out of there. If you have any questions on motor pairing, I have not watched it. I'm going to throw that right out now. I have not watched it. But I know for a fact XO Caged RC did a video on motor pairing. And XO Caged RC is awesome. Willing to bet you, without question, it's an awesome video. So I'm going to suggest go watch that. With that being said, the stalling problem, and if you watch my initial review, you will find out exactly what I'm talking about. If you skip to the end of the video, you'll actually see video footage of my truck stalling. And I was running overdrive. Basically, before this update, this system could not and would not run my truck with the overdrive configuration. For those of you not familiar with a TF2 and overdrive configuration, it is a transfer case flip. That gives the front axle overdrive of, I believe, if I'm thinking correctly, it's exactly in around 47%. It's 46 or 47. I know that for a fact. So it's right in that 46, 47% overdrive range. With it being that much overdrive, that's extreme stress on a motor and ESC combo, okay? Your $20 motors are not going to run it worth anything for any length of time. They'll run it, they'll move the tires, and you'll burn that motor up in no time at all. Your more expensive, better quality motors can run it, that are brushed, I'm talking here. But, so it's not something I held against the Axe system from the beginning, okay? And I even said that in my initial review video. I'm not holding it against it. I just couldn't run overdrive with it. The system stalled. I actually had the system stall on super easy stuff. So, and honestly, I could grab the wheel, hit the throttle, and it wouldn't even bend my leaf springs around. So, that kind of tells you the lack of torque the system had. They dramatically increased what this system could do. I can run overdrive now. It's a major difference. Now, the system itself is getting warm running overdrive. I don't feel comfortable taking it for a full day's trail walk unless it's going to be a super easy, you know, pretty smooth, not a lot of hills, not a lot of heavy stuff trail walk. I would feel comfortable doing that. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking it through a ton of mud nonstop. There's some things I don't feel comfortable with because it is getting warm. And I'm not going to lie to you, has the system stalled since they did the firmware update? Yes, I've had it stall twice on me. They were both extreme situations where I was in a bind and it was worth it for me to try to get out of them just for the sake of I didn't want to touch the truck. I didn't want to take a reverse. I wanted to try to push through it. I know the truck can take it. Well, the Axe system stalled on me. Here's the thing, it stalled, and all I had to do was rock the truck, okay? I had to take a reverse, rock the truck backwards for a split second, hammered it forward just to get the tires moving, and it was fine. It wasn't a stall where it thermal DSC. I didn't let it do that. As soon as I seen it wasn't moving, I was done. I left off. I took a reverse. Now, mind you, whenever I'm just out playing around, always just trying to play and see if I can do the lines and do it without doing reverses. It's just what I do. I try not to reverse. This wasn't even at a comp. I'm going to tell you that right now. It was just me practicing. So, bumping, I mean, just literally bumping. I might have moved 1 or 2 lugs backwards. That was enough to get my tires moving. I could push through the spot I stalled through because I already had the momentum of the tires already started before I was on that pinch point. So I done that twice, 2 different locations, the exact same thing I'd done. It pulled through. So I'm happy with that. That's better than where I was before. I couldn't drive it hardly. As soon as I'd come up to any kind of obstacle, it would just stall out. So it still does stall, but it is something that I'm going to say 99% of you will never find. It'll never happen to. And that's why I never made a big deal out of it in my last video. Most people would never have found it even then because the ratio we run in these TF2s with the diff case flipped is extreme, okay? It's not normal. So most people don't find it. And even with this massive, I'm going to say improvement they made with the system, yes, it still stalls, but I'm going to say even so few people will ever find out. And even by the time they get this system, if they come out with another update, I think, I'm really thinking they're as far as they can go with it. But who knows, maybe they'll surprise me. But if you want torque and you want wheel speed, then you need to go with a 550 Axe system. That's why they came out with it. I hit the nail on the head whenever they first come out. I did my initial review. I said, they are going to have to do a 550 can motor or make a real 540 can. Because the one that's in there, the motor design itself is not good enough to get the torque that other motors have. Okay, now with that being said, it is running my overdrive. I have lost some of the smoothness. The new update made it ever so slightly smoother than the original, or the last review I did. Okay, it was ever so slightly smoother. However, whenever we went to this overdrive configuration, I noticed a definite loss in smoothness. However, I call this truck white knuckles, okay? White knuckles is the only truck, and I don't know why, it just begs to be driven, but I use it like a ramrod. I don't go slow with it. So the smoothness I'm talking about that I noticed was just in testing. I don't drive the truck that way. I just drive it down. I drive it all ways so that I know whenever I'm talking to everybody that's watching this, I'm not just giving you a line of BS. So I noticed the smoothness on the low tire lug for tire lug area. Now, like I say, I like the middle ground with my options. I like to where it gives me some feedback, but it still uses the FOC to run it. If I would go to 100% feedback or 100% matching, where it tries to match what I'm giving it for throttle, I'm going to say that smoothness that I'm noticing will probably dramatically get better. However, that's not how I want to run the system. I need the feedback. That's the way I drive. I need it. I want to know. It's a leaf-sprung truck. We need to know. So, the shortcomings of this system are still the same as what they were to an extent before. Minus the fact that you can run overdrive now. However, you are still limited on the BEC that the system has. The ESC that I have in all the original ESCs were only a 3 amp BEC. That is not enough to run a comp servo, folks. Don't think it is. You're fooling yourself. I've seen them brown out left and right. Also, just so you know, the new axe that comes with the 550 can motors, and I believe if you manage to get a new single ESC by itself, I'm thinking, do not hold me to this one, but they will have, I know the new 550 can motor that ships with the ESC has a 4 amp BEC. It is a bigger BEC. I'm going to say eventually the ESCs that you buy by themselves will eventually have that too. But for right now, I know for a fact the motor combos 550 has the bigger BEC that'll put out more amps. 4 amps is still not enough to run the high-end servos. Just throwing that out there. As far as I'm concerned, the Mamba X has a 5 amp, and people get this confused and wrong. It has a 5 amp constant and an 8 amp peak. Okay, that 8 amp peak saves us, because what happens is whenever it senses a spike, it can throw that amperage out. It just can't maintain it for very long. It would overdo the BEC. So that's how you get away with it with a Mamba X. It can take the spike and adjust and make it work. So, as a full package, the shortcomings to it, besides BEC, is you are still limited to 3S LiPo. No matter how you look at it, you can never volt up, per se, to get your wheel speed. You have to go up in kV in the motor section they have. And if you hit the point where you have a 540, then you got to jump to a 550 if you want to be above the 2300 kV. So 2700 and 3300 kV are both 550 can motors. The 550 can motor is dramatically large in size. I personally will probably never run one because it's way too bulky for the reason that they done it. Doesn't make sense to me. You know, I would have thought that they would have done things a little differently with that motor, but hey, who am I? I'm nobody. So, but anyhow, they did do the 550. It produces amazing torque, good wheel speed. So if you need more than 2300 kV, or if you're on the fence, remember, you cannot volt up. 3S is max. So don't go slapping a 4S in, think you're going to get some wheel speed. You'll get something out of it, all right, but it won't be wheel speed. So, with that being said, the Hobbywing Axe is in an excellent position. This is the way it should have released, folks. The system was rushed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The system was rushed. The last update that we had previous to this update was still a rushed update. Right now, the way the ESC and motor combo sit is the way it should have shipped from day one. Okay? They could have avoided a lot of different stuff if it would have shipped the way it was supposed to. So, the Axe is in an excellent position. I really like it. It's not my preferred setup. And honestly, it probably can't be because it does not have an aux port. And it's not... You can't go above 3S with it. It doesn't have the BEC. And I just love the stuff I can do with Castle with my throttle curves, etc. So, I'm not a Castle fanboy. I love this. I'm loving this Axe system. I really am. I like both. They both have pros and cons. There's no denying that. So, personally, for me, it works really well having the Castle system, especially pulling in, letting kids try the system out, try it running the trucks. Couple bumps of a switch on my radio within a second. They can be without drag brakes, so my truck isn't endoing everywhere. My son uses it. Sometimes my son struggles with winch control. So what I can have him do is I have his set up on a extra radio channel to where he flips his switch. It turns his drag brake off completely. After he hooks his winch up, he turns his drag brake off. He can winch, and he can just focus on that if he needs to. His winch is plenty strong. It'll pull his truck out of anything, through anything, do anything. So if he don't feel comfortable running the throttle and the winch same time because it's a really technical area and he needs it to just follow the winch, then he can just winch. As soon as he gets to where he needs to be, he pushes that button, it re-engages drag brake instantaneously. He undoes his winch. He sits there while he's undoing his winch because his drag brake's engaged. It is literally slicker and all get out. And is it kind of a cheat system for him? Yes, I'm giving him a handicap because he literally can't hold the controller well enough to always do everything and be precise with it. So it works extremely well in that. So therefore, it's got my vote for #1 in my book. But boy, is this axe system extremely close. It's extremely good. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a new generation at some point that has an auxiliary port, that has a stronger BEC. I'd like to see at least a 5 amp. If they come out with a 5 amp, that's great. That solves a lot of stuff for a lot of people. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you take something from it. Sorry for just looking at my truck the whole time. Here, I'll flip it over one more time just so you can see the bottom, because boy, is it pretty. But anyhow, thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe. Enjoy the hobby. If you're taking the hobby way too seriously, then take a break. Chill out, dude. So, enjoy yourself. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. The next video will be the Element RC review. Boy, are we digging into that one, and I think you will be extremely surprised at what I have to say. Take care, folks. Thank you.